Hey everyone, my name is Tyler, one of the leaders here at Anchor. Just wanted to say welcome and say thanks for watching and being a devoted follower of Jesus Christ. I hope you're just as excited as I am to hear the message for today, so let's turn that time over right now.
What's up, guys? Tyler, thank you so much for introing us tonight. And I just want to let you know that we are in week 2 of On Location, and I have a quick question for you. My question is, do you enjoy fishing? And you might say, what does this have to do with anything? Just bear with me, go with me. I personally don't love fishing only because, one, I'm not very good at it. I don't have patience that much, and so I actually get kind of bored. And it's been a long time since I went fishing, therefore it's been a long time since I've caught a fish. So that means it's been a long time since I touched a fish. I remember being young and not really enjoying what they felt like. So I get bored and I don't enjoy touching fish. I don't like going fishing, but fishing is actually a part of who we should be as Christians, right? Fishermen. We should be fishers of men. If you look to Matthew chapter 4, we find out that Jesus actually calling his first disciples, Peter and his brother Andrew, he said, "Come, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." And right there, that's something that we get encouraged by. But when you think about it, Jesus says, "Follow me and I'll make you fishers of men." Well, what does that mean? Who am I supposed to fish for? How am I supposed to fish? What am I supposed to use? Right? Clearly you use the gospel to fish for these men. And I love that part where he says, "Come and follow me." Right? This idea of following him, learning from him, being on his mission. Right? He tells us to go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that he's commanded. And he says that he's going to be with us, right? That we're called to be his witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, to the ends of the earth. And so I just love this idea that he says, "Come and follow me," and we're going to be fishers of men. And so what we're going to do is we're going to continue on this idea of fishing, if you will, even though I'm not great at it, even though that I'm trying to be a little better as a fisher of men. And we're going to head somewhere where fishing is actually a really big deal. And we're going to hear from somebody that I used to work with, somebody that is very close to me, somebody that, if you remember at our last Physical United night, he was actually our speaker. And so let's get ready. We're headed to Springfield. All right, here we go.
Hey, what's going on, Anchor? Chris Torres here. I was the speaker a couple of years ago for United Night, and just awesome opportunity to be a part of this series On Location. Love Travis, love what you guys are doing there at Anchor. And here's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. I know that we're in this series called On Location, and so I am a teaching pastor and a campus pastor in Springfield, Missouri. Now, besides hillbillies, Missouri's not known for a lot, but it is pretty big on one thing. It's Bass Pro Shop. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of it. If you haven't, you can probably ask that uncle that wears a lot of camouflage. He's probably got a good idea of what Bass Pro Shop is. But it started in 1972. A man named Johnny Morris was frustrated. He was an avid fisherman and he couldn't find the right lure. And because of this frustration, it drove him to open up a bait and tackle shop in an 8x8 room in the back of his dad's liquor store. Well, I don't know if you know this, but Bass Pro Shop has become the world's leading outdoor retail store. They've bought out, what's the name? Cabela's. They bought out Cabela's. And lots of other places. They started Bass or Tracker boats, and they've just done a ton of crazy things. They've got over 200 stores, thousands and thousands of employees all around the world, and they are number 403 on billion-dollar industries all around the world. And here's what I wanted to get at today, is it was all birthed out of somebody's frustration. Now, I don't know about you, but there's a lot of things that frustrate me. A lot of things that can just get under my skin. For me, there's been a lot of things about myself that have frustrated me. In high school, when I was growing up, I had a big mouth, and I tend to say things immediately the moment I thought of them. Now, if you're like that, chances are you can regret that later on, or spend the rest of your day thinking to yourself, why did I say that? And that became a big frustration for me in my life. Was it frustrated me that I couldn't control my mouth. Sometimes it's been people. People frustrate me. I'm a pastor, and so I say this often, that ministry would be great if it wasn't for people. Because people can be frustrating, right? There's those kids in your class that drive you crazy. There's that ex-boyfriend that you can't stand. There's just tons of people that can cause frustration. Or maybe it's a circumstance. I know that there's a lot of social injustice going on in the world right now, big talk all over social media, but that can be frustrating. Maybe the circumstance in your family that you didn't cause, with your parents, maybe they're getting divorced, and that's frustrating. Maybe your mom isn't around, or your dad isn't around as much, and that's frustrating. I don't know what it is for you, but here's what I've learned, is that frustration with a specific problem usually requires a specific person. Think about this for just a second. When your toilet is clogged, who do you call? A plumber. When your house is on fire, who do you call? Fire department, firefighters. When you need a ride, who do you call? Hoping you said Uber. Some of you might still call your mom. I know you're at that age. But a specific problem that frustrates you often requires a specific person to deal with it. And here's what I've learned from Johnny's story. Johnny's story has taught me to address the problem. And I want to give you 3 quick ways on how most people address their frustrations, okay? Number 1 is they can fuss about it. Oftentimes, complaining is what a lot of people do. They just want to fuss, they just want to rag on it, they just want to talk about it. A good example is this: if you haven't talked to your grandparents yet about the government, go and ask them how they feel about it. That's a good starter. Usually when there's a problem, usually when somebody's frustrating us, or teachers or classes or relationships or family, whatever it is, the tendency can be to fuss about it. Second thing I've learned that people do is they try to forget about it. They try to bottle it up. They try to pretend like it's not happening. Moses, he was born a Hebrew back in the Old Testament, but he grew up in an Egyptian palace, and he actually grew up underneath Pharaoh, and he was frustrated because he knew that he was Hebrew, and he was frustrated with how that they were treating their people. And so one day he stepped up, he stopped them from picking on one of his fellow Hebrews, and then he ran away. And then he ended up in the desert. And for 40 years he lived there. Now, I don't know about you, but 40 years is a long time. And I don't think it was just a season where he was figuring out how to go back and handle what frustrated him. I think he was trying to forget about it. He started a brand new family, but God ultimately called him back. So people fuss about it, they try to forget about it, but other people, they fix it. Here's what I've learned is that usually if you try to forget about it and you fuss about it, eventually somebody has to end up fixing it. And so what Johnny Morris did here at Bass Pro Shop was he was frustrated because he couldn't find a lure. And instead of fussing about it, instead of forgetting about it and changing his fishing habits, he fixed it. And here's what I want you to know, is that the thing that frustrates you most, maybe it doesn't need another person to fuss about it or to try to forget about it. Maybe it needs somebody to fix it. Maybe that frustration is God calling you to step up and fix it. Now, I want to read you a verse that I wrote down here as I was thinking about Bass Pro Shop. It's found in Ephesians 2:10, and it says this. It says, "For we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so that we can do the good works that he had planned for us long ago." Now, here's the thing I want you to notice about good works. Good works are only good works because there was something less good that needed to be worked on. That's what a good work is. It's fixing something that has frustrated you or frustrated God or frustrated humanity for a long period of time. And so if you're like me and frustrations frustrate you, I want to give you a way to fix the frustration and to think about it. A couple of things I wrote down was first step is you got to figure out what frustrates you most. Oftentimes this can go unseen. Oftentimes you won't even think about it. I read this quote. It says, "A problem well stated is a problem half solved." So a good way to figure this out and to figure out what frustrates you most is write down when you're most mad. What I've learned about frustration is oftentimes in church, we give a lot of attention to anger. We give a lot of attention to depression. We can give a lot of attention to the devil. But frustration, I've found in my life, is often the key starting point that leads to those things that are undealt with. That are the longer that I ignore it, the more frustrated I become, which eventually makes me angry or eventually makes me depressed. So what I want to do is I want to take it and I want to write it down. I want to just write out some of the things that frustrate me. And when you look at it, you'll easily be able to tell, this one frustrates me the most. In fact, here's a question to help you think through that. Answer this question. What have you said in the last 2 weeks that's finished this sentence? Gosh, I really hate blank. What's the thing that comes to your mind when you hear that question? That's probably a key indicator of one of the things that frustrate you most. Second thing I wrote down is this. Is you got to find out how to fix it. You can't fix something that you don't know how to fix it. Here's a story. I have a 3-year-old son. His name's Hezekiah. And I was talking to him one day. He was wrestling with me and his pants were kind of showing, hanging down, showing a little bit of booty crack. And so I told him, I said, Hezzy, I can see your booty crack. Well, he gets this really sad face and he walks over and he stands in the corner. And I'm like, son, what is going on? And he looks at me with tears coming down his eyes. And he says, Dad, my booty is cracked. My booty's cracked. I said, son, no, it's not. And he said, how do I fix it? I said, I don't know. And that's the truth. If you've got a crack in your back and you don't know how to fix it, that can even be a bigger frustration. Here's what I've learned, is that oftentimes the Bible may or may not speak to your situation, but let me give you my secret sauce. YouTube or Google. YouTube and Google give you all of these practical ways. If you want to learn to be more in shape, if your weight frustrates you, you can go to YouTube. If you want to be more focused, you can Google it. And it'll give you a lot of practical steps. And I'm not saying that you got to take everything you get off the internet. But what I'm saying is it'll point your mind in a direction that you may not have been able to think of. And you can begin to solve and fix the things that frustrate you most. So those are key. So you want to figure out what frustrates you most. You want to find out how to fix it. And then the last key piece is this, is focus on it faithfully. When I think about Johnny Morris, I doubt that the first jig he sold, he knew he was going to be a billionaire. I doubt the first box of worms, after he sold the first box of worms, that he woke up in a new Bugatti. But faithfully fixing the thing that frustrated him most built the future that he has now today. What he wanted to see happen was simply to fix a problem. Now, a frustration is not just a frustration because you're annoyed with something, it's because you're seeing a lesser version of what life could be. See, Johnny was just upset because he wanted to go fishing. I don't think he needed a lure to hang in his house. He just wanted to go fishing. What's frustrating you the most is probably something that's stopping you from having the best life or being the best person that God has called you to be. And so you want to focus on this faithfully. God says something in his word that's so powerful. He says those who are faithful with little can be trusted with more. God gives more to those who are faithful with little. If I don't have the ability to deal with my anger today, God's not going to give me the right relationships in my life because I haven't fixed that problem in me that frustrates me. Maybe it's the anger. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, you cannot just fix it overnight. You cannot just fix it in a week. So here's what I want you to do. As you look at what you've written down and you Google or you YouTube or you find it in Proverbs, how to fix it, I want you to write down a plan. I'm going to do this, not just today, not for 21 days, but for the rest of the year. And I want you to take that one thing and work on it faithfully. And don't stop. Because what Johnny sees today came from how he was able to focus on it faithfully and fix the thing that frustrated him most. And here's how I want to end this message today. Maybe you don't have a relationship with Jesus. Maybe you're watching this because a friend posted it or shared it or whatever. I said in the beginning that a specific problem requires a specific person. And here's what I know is that God did something through Jesus that we were not able to do ourselves. To restore a relationship with God required a specific person to do it, and it was Jesus. Jesus wasn't mad at us. He wasn't mad at you. He was frustrated because he didn't have a relationship he wanted with us. So he sacrificed himself in order to fix it. So, because of that, you and I were able to see the future of heaven, the future life that we've wanted to live because of what Jesus did. So here's what I'm saying to you. If you don't know Jesus today and life is frustrating you, there's a fix. It's not going to be a drug. It's not going to be another relationship. It's Jesus. So today, after this message, you'll have the opportunity to talk to some of your leaders, talk to Pastor Travis about following Jesus and what that means. Figure out what's frustrating you. Find a way to fix it. Focus on it faithfully. And when you do that, you will begin to see the version of your life that you've always wanted to see by fixing your frustration. So that's it. That's all I got. I'm going to head into Bass Pro Shop and look at the fishing poles and try to hit a lake today. But I hope you guys enjoy this series on location. We got a ton of great speakers that are coming to you guys. It's been awesome. I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Take care.
Oh man, what an incredible message from Chris. Chris, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you as a friend, as a fellow follower of Jesus, and just someone who encouraged me every single day, every time that we chat. So thank you so much for being with us today and showing us a little bit more about Springfield. Hopefully you hit the lake. Hopefully you caught some fish. I don't know how it went as you touched the fish. But Anchor, what I want to do is I want to just touch base on a couple of things that Chris said. Right? He said that you need to find out what frustrates you, and then you need to work to fix that. But what I want to do is, Anchor, I want to talk to you for a second, right? And I want to talk about a few of the things that Chris said. He said that you need to, one, figure out what frustrates you, and then also find a way to fix it, and then focus on it faithfully, right? It was so encouraging just the way that he broke those three issues down. But one of the things that really jumped out to me was this idea that you might be frustrated because you are seeing a lesser version than what could be. And what does that look like? Where is that lesser version of what could be? Is it in our world or in our nation, in your family, maybe in yourself, right? There's a lot of times that I see a lesser version of me than what could be, than what should be, than what God has for me. And I think the overwhelming idea that I loved from the message today was this idea that a specific problem requires a specific person, right? If you remember, he talked about if you have a leak, you call the plumber. If you have a fire, you call the firefighter. Well, we have an issue, a problem with sin. And the specific person to handle that is Jesus. And Chris talked about that at the end of the message. Right? There's two ways to handle your sin. You can make the payment for all of eternity, or you can accept the free gift of salvation that Jesus offers by dying on the cross, resurrecting back to life. He did this one time for all. Right? That's the tension. You can accept this free gift because we have a sin problem that requires a specific person, and that's Jesus. And honestly, whatever it is that you get frustrated about or you struggle with, Jesus is going to lead you to those answers as well. Right? John 16 says that in this world you're going to have trouble. You're going to get frustrated. But Jesus says, take heart, I have overcome the world. And so I thank you guys so much for tuning in today, being with us today, this second week of On Location, where we've spent time at Bass Pro Shops in Springfield. I can't wait to see what else we have in store in the next few weeks. We'll see you guys.